Hey, it's Sue. So glad you joined me for today's Bible reading. It is for April 21st, and we're reading 2 Kings 1 through 3, brand new book. I always love that. And I'll try to remember to put a link in the beginning of the description under the video of the Bible Project overview for 2 Kings. Those are very, very handy and helpful. You may have heard me speak about them before. So 2 Kings 1, verse 1. Moab rebelled against Israel after the death of Ahab. Ahaziah fell down through the lattice in his upper room that was in Samaria and was sick. So he sent messengers and said to them, Go inquire of Baal-zebub, the god of Ekron, whether I will recover of this sickness. But Yahweh's angel said to Elijah the Tishbite, Arise, go up to meet the messengers of the king of Samaria and tell them, Is it because there is no God in Israel that you go to inquire of Baal-zebub, the god of Ekron? Now therefore Yahweh says, You will not come down from the bed where you have gone up, and you will surely die. Then Elisha departed. The messengers returned to him. Now see, there's one of those dangling pronouns, or whatever they're called, pronoun that, it was just talking about the king. No, it was talking about Elijah. And then it says the messengers returned to him, making you think it was Elijah, but it's not, it's the king. I don't understand why it does this in this translation. And of course, it's not the only translation. I'm just, like I said before, I'm getting more interested in translation methods and why they would leave it that way. But anyway, it says, Elijah departed, the messengers returned to him, the king, and he said to them, Why is it that you have returned? They said to him, A man came to meet us and said to us, Go, return to the king who sent you, and tell him, Yahweh says, is it because there is no God in Israel that you send to inquire of Baal-zebub, the god of Ekron? Therefore you will not come down from the bed you have gone up, but you will surely die. He said to them, What kind of man was he who came to meet you and told you these words? They answered, He was a hairy man and wearing a leather belt around his waist. He said, It's Elijah, the Tishbite. Then king sent a captain of 50 with his 50 to him. He went up to him, and behold, he was sitting at the top of the hill. He said to him, Man of God, the king has said, Come down. Elijah answered to the captain of 50, If I am a man of God, then let fire come down from the sky and consume you and your 50. Then fire came down from the sky and consumed him and his 50. Again he sent to him another captain of 50 with his 50. He answered him, Man of God, the king has said, Come down quickly. Elijah answered them, If I am a man of God, then let fire come down from the sky and consume you and your 50. Then God's fire came down from the sky and consumed him and his 50. Again he sent the captain of the third 50 with his 50. The third captain of 50 went up and came and fell on his knees before Elijah and begged him and said to him, Man of God, please let my life and the life of these 50 of your servants be precious in your sight. Behold, fire came down from the sky and consumed the last two captains of 50 with their 50s, but now let my life be precious in your sight. Yahweh's angel said to Elijah, Go down with him, don't be afraid of him. Then he arose and went down with him to the king. He said to him, Yahweh says, Because you have sent messengers to inquire of Baal-zebub, the god of Ekron, is it because there is no God in Israel to inquire of his word? Therefore you will not come down from the bed where you have gone up, but you will surely die. So he died according to Yahweh's word which Elijah had spoken. And this is Elijah with a J, in case you couldn't understand how I was pronouncing it. Jehoram began to reign in his place in the second year of Jehoram began to reign in his place in the second year of Jehoram, the son of Jehoshaphat, king of Judah, because he had no son. Now the rest of the acts of Ahaziah which he did, aren't they written in the book of the Chronicles of the kings of Israel? When Yahweh was about to take Elijah up by a whirlwind into heaven, Elijah went with Elisha from Gilgal. Elijah said to Elisha, Please wait here, for Yahweh has sent me as far as Bethel. Elisha said, As Yahweh lives, and as your soul lives, I will not leave you. So they went down to Bethel. The sons of the prophets who were at Bethel came out to Elisha and said to him, Do you know that Yahweh will take away your master from your head today? He said, Yes, I know it. Hold your peace. Elijah said to him, Elisha, please wait here, for Yahweh has sent me to Jericho. He said, As Yahweh lives, and as your soul lives, I will not leave you. So they came to Jericho. The sons of the prophets who were at Jericho came near to Elisha and said to him, Do you know that Yahweh will take away your master from your head today?" He answered, "Yes, I know it. Hold your peace." Elijah said to him, "Please wait here, for Yahweh has sent me to the Jordan." He said, "As Yahweh lives, and as your soul lives, I will not leave you." Then they both went on. 50 men of the sons of the prophets went and stood opposite them at a distance, and they both stood by the Jordan. Elijah took his mantle and rolled it up and struck the waters that they were divided here and there, so that they both went over on dry ground. When they had gone over, Elijah said to Elisha, "Ask what I shall do for you before I am taken from you." Elisha said, "Please let a double portion of your spirit be on me." He said, "You have asked a hard thing. If you see me when I am taken from you, it will be so for you. But if not, it will not be so." Now, this is a dimension of reality that most of us can't grasp. I've heard different messages on this portion of scripture over the 40 years of walking with the Lord, and I love it. And there are a lot of lessons here, both practical and spiritual. Um, but what just occurred to me was just so many of the supernatural aspects here. The fact that Elijah already knew he was going to be taken away. They understood some principles about the spirit here that we don't grasp. How did he know that? Like, why did Elisha have to see it when it happened to get that impartation? How was Elijah just so cool walking along knowing somehow that he would be taken? So the interaction between heaven, the atmosphere or realm or dimension, they had a different knowledge of it then, and they interacted with God. So, remember angels came? An angel came and talked to Elijah earlier in the chapter we just read, chapter 1. So they could come and go into this realm and out of this realm. And now Elijah is going to do that. And very interesting, very, very interesting. And the prophets knew something was going on. So this was a big deal. I mean, it's like the Lord had he warned the prophets in a couple different places, because they were in one region and the prophets there told Elijah his master was going to be taken. Then they went to another region and those prophets knew, and Elijah knew, and Elisha knew. So very interesting, really what to us is a mystery at this point. And the Bible gives other clues to these realms and this communication and travel between the realms. Remember, Jesus came back once he had resurrected and interacted in this realm. Very interesting. So let me find where I left off now. So he says, "If you see me when I'm taken from you, it will be so for you, but if not, it will not be so." As they continued on and talked, behold, a chariot of fire and horses of fire separated them, and Elijah went up by a whirlwind into heaven. Sounds like a UFO to me. Some kind of technology. Elisha saw it, and he cried, my father, the chariots of Israel and its horsemen." He saw him no more. Then he took hold of his own clothes and tore them into 2 pieces. He also took up Elijah's mantle that fell from him and went back and stood by the bank of the Jordan. He took Elijah's mantle that fell from him and struck the waters and said, "Where is Yahweh, the God of Elijah?" When he also had struck the waters, they were divided apart, and Elisha went over. When the sons of the prophets who were at Jericho over against him saw him, they said, "The spirit of Elijah rests on Elisha." They came to meet him and bowed themselves to the ground before him. They said to him, "See now, there are with your servants 50 strong men. Please let them go and seek your master. Perhaps Yahweh's spirit has taken him up and put him on some mountain or into some valley." So see, that didn't surprise them that they could be transported like that. Maybe they didn't take him for good, but they did. But they were thinking, maybe we can find him. So he said, "Don't send them." When they urged him until he was ashamed, he said, "Send them." Therefore they sent 50 men, and they searched for 3 days, but didn't find him. They came back to him while he stayed at Jericho, and he said to them, "Didn't I tell you, don't go?" The men of the city said to Elisha, "Behold, please, the situation of the city is pleasant, as my lord sees, but the water is bad, and the land is barren." He said, "Bring me a new jar and put salt in it." Then they brought it to him. He went out to the spring of the waters and threw salt into it and said, Yahweh says, I have healed these waters. There shall not be from there any more death or barren wasteland. So the waters were healed to this day, according to Elisha's word which he spoke. He went up from there to Bethel. As he was going up, by the way, some youths came out of the city and mocked him and said to him, Go up, you baldy! Go up, you baldy! He looked behind him and saw them and cursed them in Yahweh's name. Then 2 female bears came out of the woods and mauled 42 of those youths. He went from there to Mount Carmel, and from there he returned to Samaria. Now Jehoram, the son of Ahab, began to reign over Israel in Samaria in the 18th year of Jehoshaphat, king of Judah, and reigned 12 years. He did that which was evil in Yahweh's sight, but not like his father and like his mother, for he put away the pillar of Baal that his father had made. Nevertheless, he held to the sins of Jeroboam the son of Nebat, which he made Israel to sin. He didn't depart from them. Now Mesha, king of Moab, was a sheep breeder, and he supplied the king of Israel with the wool of 100,000 lambs and of 100,000 rams. But when Ahab was dead, the king of Moab rebelled against the king of Israel. King Jehoram went out of Samaria. What is wrong with me? I'm pronouncing everything wrong. King Jehoram went out of Samaria at that time and mustered all Israel. He went and sent to Jehoshaphat, the king of Judah, saying, The king of Moab has rebelled against me. Will you go with me against Moab to battle? He said, I will go up. I am as you are, my people as your people, my horses as your horses. He said, Which way shall we go up? He answered, The way of the wilderness of Edom. So the king of Israel went with the king of Judah and the king of Edom, and they marched for 7 days along a circuitous route. There was no water for the army or for the animals that followed them. The king of Israel said, Alas, for Yahweh has called these 3 kings together to deliver them into the hand of Moab. But Jehoshaphat said, Isn't there a prophet of Yahweh here, that we may inquire of Yahweh by him? One of the kings of Israel's servants answered, Elisha the son of Shaphat, who poured water on the hands of Elijah, is here. Jehoshaphat said, Yahweh's word is with him. So the king of Israel and Jehoshaphat and the king of Edom went down to him. Elisha said to the king of Israel, What have I to do with you? Go to the prophets of your father and to the prophets of your mother. The king of Israel said to him, No, for Yahweh has called these 3 kings together to deliver them into the land of Moab, the hand of Moab. Elisha said, As Yahweh of armies lives, before whom I stand, surely were it not that I respect the presence of Jehoshaphat, the king of Judah, I would not look toward you nor see you. But now bring me a musician. When the musician played, Yahweh's hand came on him. He said, Yahweh says, Make this valley full of trenches. For Yahweh says, You will not see wind, neither will you see rain, yet the valley will be filled with water, and you will drink, both you and your livestock and your other animals. This is an easy thing in Yahweh's sight. He will also deliver the Moabites into your hand. You shall strike every fortified city and every choice city, and shall fell every good tree, and stop all springs of water, and mar every good piece of land with stones. In the morning, about the time of offering the sacrifice, behold, water came by the way of Edom, and the country was filled with water. Now when all the Moabites heard that the kings had come to fight against them, they gathered themselves together, all who were able to put on armor, young and old, and stood on the border. They rose up in early morning, and the sun shone on the water, and the Moabites saw the water opposite them as the red was blood. They said, This is blood. The kings are surely destroyed, but they have struck each other. Now therefore Moab to the plunder. When they came to the camp of Israel, the Israelites rose up and struck the Moabites, so that they fled before them, and they went forward into the land, attacking the Moabites. They beat down the cities, and on every good piece of land each man cast his stone and filled it. They also stopped all the springs of water and felled all the good trees, until in Kir-Hareseth all they left was stones. However, the men armed with slings went around it and attacked it. When the king of Moab saw that the battle was too severe for him, he took with him 700 men who drew a sword to break through to the king of Edom, but they could not. Then he took his oldest son, who would have reigned in his place, and offered him for a burnt offering on the wall. Wow. There was a great wrath against Israel, and they departed from him and returned to their own land. That's it for today's reading. 17 minutes for today's reading. It's about average. So I'm excited to get into this book, as I always am when we have a new book. Remember to check for the Second Kings overview if you want to see that. And that's it. That's it for today. Thanks for joining me. God bless.